So if somebody's watching today and they have a grocery store in their neighborhood, regardless of whether or not they think it might be up to par, would you recommend that they take the checklist from your website and take a look at that grocery store? Because you've even said things to me that I wasn't even thinking of, and when we talked off camera, the temperature of the dairy products case. I would never have thought of that.
Right.
So I'm sure there's lots of things on that list that people across the region wouldn't even stop to think about.
Absolutely.
So what would you recommend for an individual who wants to take some action and make sure that their grocery store is up to par?
I would recommend, as you said, that they would visit the Moses website at mosesmi.org and find the grocery store checklist there. One of the things that they can do, we've had Moses member congregations do, that they can contact Moses and ask for assistance in doing the Healthy Food Sundays, where someone could come in and do a presentation and talk to them about doing the checklist as a congregation project, as a community project from their own congregations. A lot of our Moses congregations have gone ahead before we did the crawl, and they have done those kinds of activities in their church communities.
Now, it seems to me, based on what we were talking about earlier, is that it's the Michigan Department of Agriculture who has ultimate responsibility to go in and check for these types of criteria on a list, correct?
Right.
So in a way, you're doing them a service by supplementing what they would normally already be doing.
Exactly.
Have you connected with them in terms of the work that you did on the crawl, and will they take that information from you and be able to utilize it in their own work?
We have not to date contacted them about the crawl, but about a month and a half ago, we had a food summit where we began to talk about the crawl, and we began to take a look at food systems and those kinds of things that determine what our food systems look like. It was at that food summit that was held at one of our member churches, Christ the King, where we had a more comprehensive presentation from Fair Food Network with Dr. Orrin Hesterman, and it was an eye-opener for a lot of people that were there. We had some inspectors from the MDA that did join us at that time, and an interesting thing happened at this particular event. One of our member churches had a leader from Southwest Detroit that talked about her concerns about some of the same things that we saw on Saturday that she had observed in her store. And it just so happened that one of our MDA inspectors, that was one of the stores that was part of his route. So he did go out to the store, and he did find some of the concerns that were addressed by one of our leaders, and began to work with the store dealer right on the spot with the owner to begin to make those changes. So that was a good thing that came out of it. And that's kind of like where we're going with that. It's we don't want to, someone said, well, we need to get rid of those stores that are not doing those things. That's not necessarily, that's not what we want to do, because our residents still need to have access to food. So we're going to take a look at the information that we have received, and we're going to decide how we're going to proceed with that. As I said, our initial thought is to work with the stores that we had some concerns, talk about remedies, and before we would make an effort to engage the MDA at that point.
So would one of your most hoped for outcomes be to be able to educate and empower people in not only the city but in the region itself as to what a good, high-quality grocery store that represents the food justice principles looks like?
Right, exactly.
Okay. And do you think that this was a really good first step? I mean, it must have been very eye-opening for many of the people that were on that tour.
I think it was a very good step, and it was very a big eye-opener for them. And initially when we started working on this, and I was sort of like coordinating this activity, it was an eye-opener for me, as I thought about the many times that I go to the grocery store and shop, and I'm just looking at whether or not how something looks in appearance. And, I'm not thinking about expiration dates and how it's being presented and how it's being stored and those kinds of things. So we definitely felt that this was an effort to educate our residents, and believe me, it was an eye-opener for them. And as a matter of fact, they became excited about what they were doing, and they were very serious. they took this activity very serious, and they were very, very specific about what they were doing. So that was a real plus for us.